So are your grading practices mathematically accurate? If I were to ask teachers, why do you grade the way you do? Many would say, well, we've always graded this way and not even question if it's mathematically accurate. And I think many of us assume that our grading is mathematically accurate. Chapter 7 from Feldman, Grading for Equity, looks at practices that are mathematically accurate. I want to begin by sharing this story. I have a friend in the district that I work in, and one day my students were doing a campaign for our school called a D or F. A D is not good enough, to help students become more aware of the A through G requirements for college, to let them know that a D was not good enough for the UC and state colleges. Some students are unaware of this. They've heard, oh, a D is a passing grade, but it's not enough for UC and state colleges. Well, anyways, we're doing this campaign, and my friend, he tells me the story of how he used to be a senior in the district that we worked in, and he worked really hard, got good grades, and even earned a scholarship to UC Santa Barbara. I went to UC Santa Barbara. For all you UC Santa Barbara fans out there, Harvard of the West Coast, right? Grade school. Well, anyways, his family was so proud of him, and he was really excited to attend. You can imagine being a senior, full scholarship, so excited to attend. Well, anyways, in that senior class, he's taking this math class, and I don't know if you ever had that feeling. I've had that feeling in the math class too, where no matter how hard you try, it's like hard to improve your grade. And he was getting a D in that class. So when he went to his teacher and kind of explained the situation and about a scholarship, the teacher said, sorry, if I do something for you, I have to do something for everyone. I know. He lost that scholarship and ended up going the community college route. And my friend just shared that story kind of matter-of-factly, no emotions, but I was flabbergasted when I heard that story and was upset for him that he lost such an opportunity, lost a scholarship, right? So anyways, I hear this story. My students in my peer leadership class, they're doing this campaign, D is not good enough. I'm thinking, man, what a powerful story about getting this grade, right? And so I ask him, hey, can you please present to my students this story? Because I think that will help them understand why, grades are so important and how they matter, right? So he is so gracious to come to my class and share the story. He's in front of my students and tells the story. And then when he gets to the part of the story where he has to tell his parents that he lost his scholarship, he just starts to actually sob. I think he was taken aback by his own emotions and was surprised by his own emotions that telling the story drew out. He apologized to the students, and at that point I come in and I just tell the students that I'm so thankful that my colleague was able to share this vulnerable story with us all. And we just appreciated him so much, his courage and vulnerability. We gave him a hand and affirmed him. And then later I asked, hey, are you okay? And then he said he just didn't expect all those emotions to rise up when telling that story. And I thought, man, how painful that experience must have been. That wasn't just matter of fact, it was a painful story. And when he was a senior, when he realized he'd be losing that scholarship and not attending the school of his dreams, and when he had to explain that situation to his parents after, I'm sure their parents were so proud and was telling everyone their son had accepted a scholarship to UC Santa Barbara, it must have been very difficult for them and also very disappointing and difficult for my friend as well. And the story reminded me of how powerful grades are. By the way, I do share the story with my friend's permission, and then I asked him once again, hey, can I share the story on the Ed Family YouTube channel? And he responded by saying, it would be an honor. And I do think it's a badge of honor now because he's very successful, by the way. He's very successful. That route, it wasn't what he expected, but he made it work. And now, no doubt, it's a story of resilience, one that strengthens him. Well, moving forward, would you say that grades should be a mirror of what students know? Let me throw out a couple of examples that Feldman includes in this text. Like most teachers use a 100-point scale, 0 to 100, right? And so let's say Sally, one student in the class, got 88 in the class, while Johnny got 87. Could the teacher really explain with confidence the difference in knowledge that Sally had over Johnny? So would the grades then be a reflection of what the student knows? Now, I didn't ask my friend specifics on why exactly, the D was given, right? But let me just share a couple of different things that can get a student very quickly to a D or F. The first is the 0. If a student doesn't turn in an assignment, oftentimes that student will receive a 0. And that's not just an F, because an F is like even if 59% could be an F, right? But it's kind of like a double F on a 0 to 100 scale. So an A is like a 90 to 100, a B is 80 to 89, and F is anything from 0 to 59. So once you get a 0, the grades just plummet. If you've ever got a 0 on an assignment, you know what I'm talking about. Your grades just go down. It goes down so fast. And and then when you get that 0, right? And if, let's say they have a policy of and no late work on top of that, or you can't make up this assignment, then it is so hard to bring your grade up once it's down like that. And you'll see a lot of classes where many students are getting D's or F's in that class. Might this 0 be an accuracy issue? Now, Feldman argues if a grade is a reflection of what the student knows, does the student really know nothing when they get the 0? So in page 77, he says, not having evidence of what a student knows isn't the same thing as having evidence that she knows nothing. But when we get the 0, it's kind of like saying that student didn't know anything, right? So might this also be an accuracy issue? Because it's not really a measurement of what the student knows, right? Now, there might be some folks out there, Feldman quotes Reeves, defenders of the 0, right? Who claim that, these students, they need to have consequences for their actions. In life, you got to have consequences. There are deadlines, and they have to turn in the teacher's work in on time. And then Feldman goes on to quote Reeves, and he says, that's right. But the appropriate consequence is not a 0. It's completing the work. The appropriate consequence for a 0, a missing assignment, is not giving the 0, but it's completing the work, giving the student a chance to show what they know. So might this be an accuracy issue? One thing I'm glad for during the pandemic, obviously, I wish that didn't happen. It's a very difficult time for so many students and teachers. But there was this idea that emerged called compassionate grading. And that was basically a 50% floor on all assignments. It became a lot more commonplace. Like if a person didn't turn an assignment or didn't do well on an assignment, the lowest grade that they would receive was that 50% score. Now I'll tell you this, for myself, I've had this in place for a long time, way before the pandemic. But I've always felt I've had to justify and explain myself. People would ask me, why would you give students points if they hadn't done the work? So I'd be giving them 50%, right? So in addition to the double F, which I referred to earlier, I also thought about in my class how much I don't assess. So when a student comes to my class, and let's say grades are a reflection of what they've learned in my class. Let's say they come into my class, right, but don't turn in any assignment. Did they truly learn nothing? Look, I know there's some students that come to my class, they learn a lot. They learn a lot about themselves. They learn a lot about the content. They develop skills. They think about their purpose in the future, but maybe they didn't do some of the assignments, right? And so, but they've learned. So rather than giving them a 0, I'm still giving them an F, right? On the assignments, 50%, but it's not a 0. Now later in this chapter, Feldman also proposes using more of a grading scale, a 0 to 4 grading scale, or 1 to 5. I'll tell you, I use a similar scale when assigning projects. I usually move from module to module, projects to projects, and a rubric actually works really well for this type of scoring. And I think I'll talk a little bit about that more at another time. Did this video help you think more about your grades and your grading practices and if they're mathematically accurate? If so, be sure to hit that like button. And if this topic is interesting for you, grading for equity and having more equitable grading, I'm doing a series. I'm up to chapter 7 now in the Feldman text. Feel free to subscribe and get a weekly update on this topic. This is Dr. Jeff from Ed Family, signing out.